Welcome back to another review, this time for the Donghua Really Sad Witch, which had 8 episodes and was airing in spring of 2026. Synopsis on any list. Roland, a modern man reborn as a prince in the dangerous border town, rescues the witches Anna and Nana Pine from the church. Harnessing their extraordinary powers, he fuses magic and technology to craft weapons, armies, and steam engines to defend his people. As the demon moon rises and conspiracies close in on his family, Roland must lead a revolution to protect his allies and reshape the world. So we have an isekai. Modern man gets reincarnated as Roland, a prince. He's in control of this border town. He meets the witches, which have magic, and he's going to make this border town flourish with the help of the witches. He himself does not get any powers. The only power he has essentially is the knowledge he got from our world. He's also an engineer, from what I remember. So it makes sense that he knows a little bit about like steam engines and stuff like that. Now, why is he in control, or why is Roland in control of the border town? Because the king decided that all his children get put into control of a city each, and whoever is leading the city the best is going to be crowned the successor of the king. Now, theoretically, good idea. Practically, it has a lot of problems. One of them is that Roland, he is in control of probably the worst city in the whole kingdom, and he has to make the best out of that. Now, we get to know the witches, Anna and Nana Pine, which are named here. We get to see a little bit about the world. We see what is going on with the demon moon, or the demon months, which is essentially like winter, or at least a part of winter is the demon months, where monsters come from the mountain or from the mountain range and attack the kingdom. Now, the border town is bordering the mountain range, so they are the first being attacked. So we find out that they normally have to retreat to the fort more inland, and whenever the demon months disappear or are gone, they can go back to the border town. Why? Because the border town has a lot of ore they mine, which is more or less their big benefit. They have a lot of ore. Meanwhile, some of the other princes and princesses have like whole trade towns, which are a lot easier to make flourish, in my opinion. And that is the idea. We get to see what he is planning, how his interaction is with, as example, the fort. And we have a little bit of progression. I wouldn't call it industrialization. It's a little bit less than that. But we have a little bit technology advancement, a little bit diplomacy, intrigue. All of that is in the show. I really like the show. I find the animation is pretty good. I like the art style. The art style is not too, I would call it, it's not too anime. It is a little bit more realistic looking, which I do enjoy. It fits the vibe of the show pretty well. And I feel like this is also what Chinese production like to go more into the direction of a little bit more realistic, less abstract like anime did. Even though anime also has made that pivot somewhat, at least recently. And I really enjoy it. I would definitely recommend giving it a shot. He's not going to grow OP, which is one of my big problems I have with isekai in general. There are too many that have like a problem and they instantly solve the problem. This show, these 8 episodes are all about, we have this border town and we need to make this border town useful. We need to have it flourish. So we need to change somewhat radically some of the aspects that people thought were normal. One of them, as example, witches, which seem to have magical abilities. The church is like, witch is evil. If you find witch, you need to burn. That is the idea of the church. And the king agrees and is like, okay, this is now the status quo. You find witch, you report witch, witch gets burned, everyone happy. Because witch is the incarnation of evil. That is the idea. Now, we have a history of witch hunting as well, and it may not have turned out humane, let's say that. So, let's go to ratings. There is more I need to say to the show as well. But let's see, AniList has 80%. My anime list has 8.23. I really like the show. I really like the character. Roland is not stupid. He's pretty smart. He knows how to get what he wants and how to... He's not necessarily emotionally guided. He knows how to talk to people. And again, he's not stupid, which I really appreciate. It is rare to have someone somewhat smart. There are also smarter, not enemies, but let's call them antagonists that are not necessarily against him, but they are on opposite sides. And there are a couple of them that are also smart and act smart. There are also some that are stupid and blinded by pride. And then there are some that are more or less in a situation where they can't really do the smart approach because it would not be accepted. Now, ratings wise, I would give it a 9 out of 10. However, there are some problems. Now, from what I can tell, from what I have read, there was a problem with the production. Now, I can't verify that, but from what I read is that there was a company that was like, okay, we want to help you produce an animation for Really Sad Witch. They got some funding somewhere, I don't remember, but while the production was ongoing, they decided to maybe sell it to someone else, another Chinese company. And that Chinese company was like, okay, we would be interested, but we want to change the tone of the story. Now, the production was already going on for some time, so there was not really a way to switch the tone of the whole story and not have to more or less restart. So there was some dispute and they did not get an agreement. The original company was then more or less stuck with the production of the Really Sad Witch and decided to just can the whole production and sold the rights to what it seems like Crunchyroll, at least the distributing rights. I don't really know what exactly it got to Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll messed up some of the not translation, but some of the subtitles for some reason, but it's Crunchyroll. What do you expect? Now that means that we only have like half, maybe a third of a season because the show takes its time. It doesn't really rush into the story. It takes its time. It builds up Border Town. It builds up those characters. It builds up a little bit of the reaction between different types of characters, because naturally there is also some, let's call it, racism in this world, not only against the witches, naturally. And you clearly feel like they wanted to take their time and they had a plan. That the first 8 episodes are, we are going to do this, and then we have like maybe another 5 or 8 episodes for this part, and then we finish with something else. But they only got 8 episodes, which means the show ends before we even get to the Demon Moon, which I feel like this is where the whole story would have picked up quite a bit and would have made it a lot more enjoyable for the general audience. But sadly, we did not get to see that, as far as I know. I may be wrong, there may be more coming, but from all I could read, the production got axed and we only have 8 episodes. Sadly. Even though I feel like there's a lot of potential here that they could have realized, especially with the demon months coming and the whole what we want to, or what the story wanted to portray. There could have been a lot of action, a lot of heroic moments, a lot of ingenuity, and I feel like it could have delivered a really compelling show if we at least got the Demon Moon or Demon Months resolved before ending the show. It feels a little bit bad. On one hand, the end is really just, it feels incomplete, but it also feels like if there was a stopping point early, that probably was the best stopping point, because you could, if you ever get to continue the story, you have a pretty good starting point, I feel like. But it still feels it just feels bad that it had to end right here. So there is still the webtoon, I don't remember what it's called. Not manhwa, it's manhwa. There is a drawn version of the story, and there is still the novel you can read. They do differ from the tone as well, from what I have read. The drawn version omits some details, as they always do, and is more lighthearted, while not as dark as the novel supposedly is. But this is where we stand. I wish it would have continued. This could have been a really, really good isekai, but we only got 8 episodes.